because of the lisp.
Well, that and by like how far up his chin goes. There's nothing to stop that travel.
Because as soon as you said, "You my butterfly, sugar baby."
Sugar baby. Come, my lady, come, my lady, my precious. We watch it. Wesley showed me a very disheartening, very sad video. We were, for some reason, he started singing "Butterfly" by Sugar Ray. And then he said, "Have you seen the video where Sugar Ray is in the Guitar Center and he has no teeth?" And I was just like, nope.
And when I say Guitar Center, I mean like the chain Guitar Center.
Yeah. Like he wandered in there.
Yeah, like attached
would...
to like a dying strip mall somewhere. Yeah, it just seemed like it was very like very spur of the moment. I don't think that this thing was like put together because that's obviously not the original band.
You think he like wandered in there?
Yeah.
I was like hoping somebody would recognize him.
Yeah.
Because nobody recognizes him anymore. Yeah. Not because they don't know who Sugar Ray is, but because
it's sad.
He looks like a tattooed golem. He's got that, like I said before, he's got that lollipop head that all meth addicts have. That skinny neck and that perfectly spherical head. Like a 5-year-old druid. Well, first of all, hello and welcome, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back.
Episode 76. Sorry it took 2 weeks to get it out, but
yeah, well,
you know how it goes.
You're all used to this by now.
Yeah.
We're 75 episodes in.
Yeah, you know the drill. There have been many goings on in the past 2 weeks.
There have.
I wanted to share one quick little thing before we jump into it. So, you know me, I can't go anywhere without coming back with some kind of a story.
Yeah.
Like there always has to be something that happened. I can't just go to a place and do the errand I'm trying to do.
Have an uneventful day.
And then come home. It's not in the cards for me. Yesterday I went to Kroger to go get a bunch of stuff for dinner. And also if you saw my Facebook post, you saw that the Kroger had mislabeled the flank steak, which is usually like $10 or $11 a pound, but they labeled it as chicken, so it was $2.99 a pound. I grabbed all of them. I went to self-checkout. I didn't say a damn word to anybody. But while I was there...
Like 50 pounds of flank steak.
Yeah, it's like the dude, like... You ever see, like, well, they had, like, those, like, pit boss, like things up in the top of the grocery store? I just imagine some dude watching me just, like, very hurriedly pushing all this flank steak out of the building. Yeah, but while I was there, I was over in the produce aisle, and this guy goes, I was wearing I had just come from working from home, so I wasn't dressed up super great or whatever, you know. I was wearing my hat that I always wear, and I was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
No.
And there's a guy standing there, and he goes, from like 15 feet away, like not a comfortable distance to like have a conversation with somebody.
Right.
Like a distance to be like, hey, excuse me, can like, you know, like that kind of thing. Not just like I like your shirt.
No.
You know, which is what he said.
Yeah, he's like, I like your shirt.
Yeah, he's like, I like your shirt.
What?
I was like, oh, thanks. And he goes, I like your hat too. I was like, oh, thank you very much. He's like, where'd you get that hat? I was like, I got it in Italy. He's like, oh, how was Italy? I was like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, you know, kind of turning my body away from him, like pushing my buggy the other way. I was like, Italy was great. Yeah. He's like, what'd you eat while you were there? And I was like, oh, okay, like I can't break away from this.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know, pizza, pasta. He was like, oh, is it different than, or is it better than what we have here? And I was like, it's different. It's hard to compare. He goes, where else do you want to go? And I was like, what? Yeah. When he said that, I realized, I was like, oh, he's autistic.
Yeah.
Like he's...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he's obviously has some kind of social,
you
know, issues, but he's trying to, you know, engage with me here. And I was like on the cusp of being like, I don't want to talk to you, man, and just like walk away. But when I realized that there was something was up, it was like I can't do that, you know.
Like,
yeah. And I was just like, I just kept answering his questions, whatever. Finally, I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to go finish my grocery shopping. He's like, all right, have a good one. And we kind of part ways or whatever.
Yeah.
And like a little while later, he's behind me. He comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, like, oh, no.
And he picks right back up where we left off. Not like, hey, it's me again, or like, oh, hey, make a joke. We just bumped into each other. He just goes, where else do you want to go? And I'm like, have fun. I was like, oh.
Jesus Christ.
What the fuck is this? But that's really all there is to that.
Yeah.
It's just this guy, we crossed paths like 3 times in Kroger. I think he was making laps around the building or something.
Did he work there, or just somebody that's in the store?
It was just some dude.
Okay, so that's where I draw the line. If he's not a worker there and he's just creeping around the store on people, I'm just been fuck off.
Yeah, this could eventually become an issue.
Yeah. He's gonna skin you and wear you like a suit.
Yeah, either you are gonna snap and stab someone, or you're gonna annoy the wrong person.
Right.
They're not gonna care that you have some kind of deficiency.
This doesn't end well.
Yeah. There's no happy ending to this. Yeah, he was just lurking around.
Go pull the thing of cereal off the shelf. He's like, where else do you want to go?
Yeah, he's his head. Oh no! But I'm worried. I'm worried that he's gonna be there the next time I have to go to Kroger.
Right.
And he'll recognize me.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm gonna have to do is
you can wear one of those fake noses with the glasses. The
the Groucho Marx I think I'm just gonna have to have a specific outfit for Kroger. I can't wear my derby hat. I've got to wear a cowboy hat or something. But that might draw more attention. I don't know. He might be like, "What kind of cattle do you wrestle?" Yeah, I've gotten better about breaking away from situations that I don't want to be in.
Yeah.
When I had told the story on the podcast about that guy that was soliciting me in the front yard that one time, and I just told him, I was like, I don't want this. And we just parted ways. Ever since then, I felt, if I don't want to be a part of something, I just I'll leave.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. But when it, my bluff got called when I realized that this guy had something going on.
Right.
And I was like, that sucks, but it's still unfair for me.
Yeah.
Because there's no graceful way for me to be like, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
And what if he loses it,
Right.
I don't know what he's capable of. But I don't know. He kind of seems like he should have had a handler.
I've encountered that a couple times, and I just kind of I talk, but I'm walking away.
That's what I was trying to do. That's what I was trying to do. But he was maintaining the conversation with me as I was increasing distance. Yeah. So people are looking now.
Yeah.
Because that looks like a confrontation when it's not. He's just asking me questions.
You should just grab your phone and act like you're talking to Mary on the phone.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, can I talk to her?
Yeah, what's your wife's name? Where does she live? Does she have any fears?
It's what's that meme that they have where it's the guy from it's Unsolved Mysteries, where it's all the things he says when he opens up.
He's like, it's a fabrication. We made it up. I miss TV shows like that used to come on, when we those TV shows that would come on when you stayed home sick from school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Maury.
Well, yeah, it was a very specific run of shows.
Right.
Right. It was for old people. Because there was no such thing as work from home back then. So all that, they call it primetime TV, that was when everybody was home from work and eating dinner.
Right.
They were going to pick one thing to watch, and you wanted it to be your thing.
Right.
So everything that came on TV past 5 p.m. was all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But there was these shows that would come on in the middle of the day that were just so many courtroom TV shows, thousands of those.
Yeah.
But also then you have shows like Unsolved Mysteries, or what was that other one? There was another one that was kind of like that. something Files.
X-Files?
No, not X-Files. Or what was it called? Cold Cases or something?
Yeah, something like that. There was always like some type of like mystery show or something.
There was another show. I remember, Unsolved Mysteries, I think was the biggest one, but there was another one like that. But that Unsolved Mysteries and all those other like mystery shows or like Unsolved Cases or whatever, they were all shot the same way. There's always like the idea of a host was always weird to me because like it makes sense to have a host on like a game show.
Yeah.
Like Steve Harvey or something like that. But who is this guy that's like in a museum?
No.
He's always like, it's always some guy in like a room with all these artifacts.
Yeah.
Like, just around.
Like an old withered hand or
Yeah, like
something.
a vase. And he's always like, they've always got him posed like he's taking a headshot from like the back
or
of
he's
his...
like reading a book.
Like looking back on it, it was ridiculous. But even then, like when I was growing up, I was like, "Why? Who was this guy? Like, what does he add? Just tell me the story. I don't." And I always like had to have him like give like a preface to the story. Every single show was like that. Even like Tales from the Crypt.
No.
Are You Afraid of the Dark? There was always this prelude.
No. It was like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, I never but like those shows now, you just die right into the thing.
Right.
I don't know if it's like an attention span thing or what, or if like TV shows back then were still operating off of like theater rules where you kind of have to set the stage,
Right, like the narrator.
Yeah. I don't know. I always thought the job of a host was a strange thing. Like, how do you get picked for?
Yeah, he's like the MC.
Yeah, yeah. Like who's the guy that does the one that did Extreme Home Makeover?
Oh,
he was like insane.
Oh,
was it Ty Bennington? Is that his name?
Ty Bennington. Yeah.
That dude is out of his fucking mind. He is wild. Like every time he was on screen, it was like they just shot him up with everything. He's just like,
who is that one guy? It wasn't Billy Mays. It was the other guy. He was like, like the crazy hair.
Oh, Vince?
Yeah.
Slap chop guy?
Yeah. And he like bit that hooker.
Yeah. He bit her tongue or something like that.
What a fucking wild guy.
Yeah. He came back. He was on another infomercial.
Oh, was he?
After, post hooker tongue. And they made jokes about it. Like they worked in some jokes like about that whole
the writer's
thing.
like, oh, this will be good.
Yeah. It's like a strange layer of like a meta humor for an infomercial about a ShamWow or whatever.
He's like, dude, you can clean up all kinds of blood with this, baby.
Yeah. It'll soak up all the hooker's blood. It reminds me of the, I want to say it was College Humor that did it. The slap chop guy in prison skit.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that where he's like in prison and he's got like this table of stuff. He's like trying to hawk to all the other like prisoners. He's like, one was like a nudie mag. One was like a little thing of heroin. And one guy's like, what are you in for? And he was like, a hooker tried to rob me. I bit a tongue off. And like, he goes to move on.
Yeah.
And like, a guy's like, you bit a hooker's tongue off? But it also reminds me of Djibouti Dubs.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the first time I ever saw a Djibouti Dubs video. It was the Sticky Buddy one. Where it's like the little, it's like a little rolling pin that like you can clean up lint and stuff with or whatever. Because every scene in that skit is just more hilarious than the last one.
For some reason, the one that got me in that whole skit is where it's like that old woman that's like... that's in that chair and she goes, ah!
Yeah. It's really funny too because when you know how they do it is they watch the videos and they dub over it live.
Oh,
like
really?
they don't watch it and make a script.
No.
They're like just doing it as it's coming along. So that part where the old lady starts brushing her hair with the sticky buddy, and then she goes to laugh. She goes to do this big laugh, but it looks like she's just screaming. So the guy's like, he goes, "Ooh, that's what I'm talking about."
Oh god.
Oh my god, that one's so funny. I just like I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've seen a video that made me cry laughing. That one, Bev and Bob, of course, singing "Down with the Sickness." Why do you have to be such a bitch? I love that one because he hits bitch so hard. He just there's so much so much
that's
mustard
coming from somewhere.
Yeah, I think that was directed at Bev. But I like the other Djibouti Dubs one where was it the garden hose or whatever. That little hose that shrinks and expands or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, I don't know who lives here, but it's time to wake up. And he's just spraying that window. Oh boy.
I miss the old internet. Bev and Bob kind of belong on the old internet.
Bev and Bob belong on Adult Swim. They would be a hit fucking show.
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, one of our listeners, David, shout out David. He sent me a message. He's like, I don't know if you've checked in on Bev and Bob lately, but he's like, but they're still at it. And he sent me. I sent it to you. What song were they singing?
Ball with a Ball.
Oh yeah, Ball with a Ball by
by Kid Rock.
By Kid Rock. And I was watching and I was like, there's that big long prolonged instrumental intro,
Yeah.
and the whole time that was going on, I was like, I know this is going to be worth it. Whatever happens after this, it's going to be gold.
I love the fact that he went so far as to have 3 different outfits.
Yeah, a little wardrobe change. I was looking around in the comments on that video. And
they have comments turned on for that?
Comments are turned on. But I think everybody, there's this collective effort to kind of gas Bev and Bob up.
Yeah.
Because they want more of this.
Exactly.
You ever seen that episode of Rick and Morty where Jerry's hanging out with the Cenobites?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that situation. Everybody in the comments were like, "We love you, Bev and Bob. Thank you so much for making this content."
Yeah.
I'm your biggest fan, Bev and Bob.
Yeah.
And, obviously, it's bad.
Yeah,
right?
It's not good.
It's not good, but it is very entertaining. Yeah. I just, I think I had said before, with the Down with the Sickness one, the comments were turned off on that video. And I was like, that kind of tells me that Bev and Bob take this serious.
Right. This isn't a joke for them.
This isn't a joke to them. And I was like, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It was because,
Because it's really funny.
Because it's really, really funny. But maybe because they take it so serious, there's a lot of sincerity and earnestness going into this that kind of feeds the hilarity of the whole thing. Because I think if they knew it was a joke, they would try to make a joke of it,
right.
And it wouldn't be quite as entertaining to us.
Then it would become parody of itself.
Yeah. So yeah, God bless Bev and Bob. Just two church-going, God-fearing folks from West Virginia.
Why you gotta be such a bitch?
Why do you have to be such a bitch? The first time I heard that, dude, I couldn't fucking breathe. I was laughing so fucking hard.
Somebody made an observation the other day that I thought was a pretty good one. They were talking about how, current movies, they are a parody of a parody at this point. How it seems like current movies now, all of them have one-liners and it's all kind of surface level.
Yeah, the writing is very poor. It all comes down to the writing.
And they were saying how, it kind of, when they first started doing it, like it was really like I feel like it first got started like in the Marvel movies. Like the Marvel universe was always like there would be like something that'd be like a comedic break to like break the tension of the movie or whatever. But then it just became comedic breaks.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
there is no serious undertone to the movie anymore.
There's no nuance or subtext or anything.
Right.
It's and it's kind of like am I really requesting that of a superhero movie? Yeah. Yeah, right good, please.
Yeah.
Like we've pointed at Thor as the main culprit of this. It's if you take a look at the first ever Thor movie, it's there's comedic elements in there, but it's very serious. It takes itself very serious.
Right.
The entire thing is shot in Dutch angles, which is kind of annoying.
No.
But if you compare that to the most recent one, Love and Thunder, it's like, what even the fuck is this?
Right.
Love and Thunder is it's annoying.
Right.
That's what it is. It's just annoying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can even see like, I think some of the better ones is probably like the new Spider-Man. They're probably like the better like superhero movies that they've come out with recently.
Yeah, I mean,
but even then, like comparatively to like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, like those are two different types of movies.
Well, that's campy.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the point with that. But with the most recent Spider-Man movie, was it Homecoming? No, Far From Home. They had that home kind of naming convention. I just can't remember. No Way Home. That's it.
Yeah, No Way Home.
That movie is as key jingly as it is. Look at Tobey Maguire. Look at Andrew Garfield. I feel that the writing is pretty good in that one. Like a lot of the villains are
They kind of stay true to what the villain was in the original movie.
Well, that and also the villains are kind of multi-layered a little bit.
Right.
Like you have, this one. There's the whole thing where they're trying to convince them to, they're trying to tell the villains like, these powers are ruining you.
No.
they're making you not yourself.
Right.
And they kind of, they kind of have like this inner turmoil. Every single villain does.
Right.
You have Dr. Octopus deals with it his way, Electro or Shocker, whatever he is.
No.
And so on and so forth. And then even, I guess spoiler alerts for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but, Green Goblin kills Aunt May.
Yeah.
And then you have Peter who has to deal with that.
Right.
And he's like on the cusp of becoming like a vengeful murderer because of it. And the only reason that he doesn't is because the other two Spider-Men show up and they kind of talk him down out of it. Like, we've been there before. We know what you're going through. And, it was interesting to see. Like, I think a lot of that goes to Tom Holland as well. He portrayed that scene. He portrays, that inner turmoil, that conflict very well.
Right. Which
is a lot better than what some of the stuff you have seen out of those Marvel movies.
Right. Yeah, it seems like too that that they kind of treated that with a little bit of reverence. Yeah. Like, somebody is dead, so we have to treat this with like some.
They treated it serious.
Yes, with some some sincerity at some point.
Yeah. There wasn't like a bunch of jokes being made.
No.
I haven't watched really anything Marvel in quite some time, but I understand. I've been seeing a lot of like bitching and moaning about it on Twitter. There's some new Disney Plus show or miniseries that come out called Secret Wars. Did you ever see Captain Marvel?
The one with Brie Larson in it?
Yeah.
No, the only thing I've seen her within it, I think, was Endgame.
So,
by the point that Captain Marvel came on, I was kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I can't really.
Captain Marvel really isn't all that bad. It's definitely not. It's not as bad as people were saying it was. There's a little bit of that, like, hair in the food kind of a thing with like the whole feminism, wokeness, or whatever. But it's not that bad.
Is she a Mary Sue in that movie? Is just like there's no character development, or see, the same issue that I have with Captain Marvel is the same issue that I have with like Superman. Where there's no stakes here.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how she's written in the comic book. She's like all powerful. So. The conflict, how if you have somebody who can overcome anything, how do you give them a problem to solve?
Right.
you always have to resort to, ethics and morals and that kind of things, because there's no one answer to that stuff.
Right.
Which isn't the direction they went with that movie. It was still like, good guy versus bad guy, you know. But the point of bringing it up, the point of bringing it up is that in that movie there's like this race called the Kree or Skrulls. They're called Skrulls, and they're like shapeshifters, so they can take on the identity of humans or whoever else.
Right.
Well, apparently, Rhodey, Iron Man's best friend, the James Cheadle or Don Cheadle's character. I don't want to say James Cheadle. Who the fuck that is? Don Cheadle's character. Yeah. Apparently, he's been a Skrull this whole time. So they kind of like
that. Here's now a thing. That
they kind of retconned. Like all of that. Yeah. Like I don't know at what point he became a Skrull or if he was always a Skrull or whatever. Yeah. But it was
he's not played by the same guy.
Well, but okay.
As opposed to the first Iron Man movie.
If they're going to make it if that's going to be the in-universe reason for not having what's his face play Rhodey anymore, then the characters in the universe would notice like you look nothing like that light-skinned black guy who played Rhodey first. It's just like it'd be like if all of a sudden like you came over and Danny Trejo opened up my front door and was like, "Hey man," you'd be like, "You're not Gary, you're someone else."
We're doing this now.
But I don't have an enormous problem with like retconning things, but that it kind of takes away from the emotional weight of Tony's death and like all of his friends being there to mourn him,
right?
Because one of them was an alien the whole time,
right?
And was pretending to be his friend,
right?
It's just kind of like, it kind of sours it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what. And I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know for a fact, but it seems like the promotion for these two films have been really getting on my fucking nerves.
Yeah.
The Barbie and Oppenheimer movies.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, from what I've seen...
Barbenheimer.
Yeah. From what I've seen, Oppenheimer looks it's a very serious fucking story.
Yeah, there's no lightheaded movie to be made about the fucking atom bomb.
Yeah. So, but not only that, but it's also directed by Christopher Nolan. Yeah. So we all kind of know, like, there's not going to be any comedic breaks in this movie. That's we don't do that here.
Yeah.
So, but
it's like played very seriously.
Yeah. So that one seems like it's going to be a good break from like this. It seems like every movie does it now, where it's like there's always like comedic breaks everywhere, and like nothing takes itself seriously anymore, and because it's like
everybody's got to be quirky and have you read the synopsis for the Barbie movie? Do you know what occurs in the Barbie movie?
Yep. Well, the only reason why I know that is because I was thinking about taking Autumn to go see it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why, number one, why does this have a PG-13 rating?
You're like, wait a second.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here?
Something's going on with this.
Something's fishy with this.
Yeah.
And then like I went and read like some reviews on it or whatever, and I kind of get sort of what is happening.
Why did they do that?
Well, I don't understand like why.
Yeah, I'm trying to skirt around spoiling it because I know there's a lot of people who want to go see it. I'm not going to spoil it, but they take it in a direction that it didn't need to go. The Barbie movie doesn't need to be preachy.
No, it's about Barbie.
It doesn't need to preach to anyone. No. The Barbie, I didn't fucking play with Barbies growing up, whatever.
Right.
But I understand what Barbie is. Barbie is, it's about, okay, it's a fucking doll for girls to play with, base level. That's what it is. But also, Barbie has never, accomplished anything in spite of anything.
No.
Barbie's accomplishments have always been her own.
Because of her.
Yeah. So there was like, when they released like, Triage Nurse Barbie.
No.
Or whatever. She didn't come in a box and said, despite the patriarchy and despite all this fucking cis white man. Yeah. It's just, It's just, hey, I'm an ER nurse.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
put in time and effort.
I put in time and effort. I did this on my own.
I worked my ass off, blood, sweat, and tears.
You know, it doesn't have to be every single time there's a victory for women. It has to mean a loss for men.
In spite of, yeah.
That's as much as I'm going to say about it because without spoiling the movie for anyone. But Barbie didn't have to preach to anyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is a movie where it doesn't have to be anything serious. It's about Barbie.
Yeah.
It's like if they wrote a movie about fucking Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't expect there to be some like underlying lesson.
It turns out he was gay the whole time. Yeah. He has to deal with that. He give the craziest reach around.
But yeah, so I mean, looking at the two or whatever, like obviously they're polar opposites from one another, of course, but looking at Oppenheimer, it was nice to see, and like I said, I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know for a fact. Yeah. But from what I've read and from what I've gathered, it seems like they're not trying to do comedic breaks. Like they're trying to do like a biopic on.
Yeah. Well, it's like we said,
the father of the atomic bomb.
Yeah. Look at the subject matter of this movie.
Right.
There's really no jokes to be made here.
Yeah. Which, like, of course, sent me down like a YouTube rabbit hole of like watching like how does an atomic bomb work?
Yeah.
How does a hydrogen bomb work?
Yeah.
Which is really wild because I didn't like know that. Of course, like you have the core of uranium, which is just like a metal ball.
Yeah.
And then they like encase it in beryllium.
Beryllium.
And they just like so there's the ball that sits in the middle, and then they have like these bricks, I guess you could say, like beryllium
around
it, and so they'll fix them so then it's like a sphere of beryllium that is encasing a metal ball of uranium.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason why they do that is because that beryllium acts as a reflector. So when they start separating the neutrons across like the atoms, that beryllium directs it back in, so it speeds up the process
like exponentially.
And so essentially what happens is like I guess they have like a stick of dynamite like that sits at the top of it and starts that explosion, and then of course like the explosion moves its way down into the uranium, and that beryllium reflects it back in on itself. And apparently in order to get a hydrogen bomb to work, so that's what they call fission, which is where you're separating, atoms from themselves.
Right. And all that energy is releasing. Yeah.
Right, and all the energy is releasing. So, but a hydrogen bomb is actually fusion.
Is it really?
Yes, it's fusion. So they have, like, it's like a core. I don't know how long it is, but it's like just a rod.
Yeah.
And it's encased in, I think they said it's like, I can't remember what it's encased of, but it's like a rod of... I can't remember, some other type of metal. It might have been plutonium or uranium or something. And so, what happens is that they encase that in styrofoam.
Really?
And so that it starts up that process. And so that styrofoam reflects those neutrons back down and back into where this other material is at, where this rod is at, and it shrinks it down. And then it finally gets to critical mass.
It's like a compression kind of thing going on.
It's like compression. Yeah. And so you're essentially feeding more neutrons. Like you're creating essentially more mass.
Right.
And then that's what makes the big explosion.
Yeah.
But it happens like...
in some unmeasurable amount of time.
I think they said like trillionths of a second or something like that.
It kind of works off the same principle of the demon core. Right, so you have a reactive metal or radioactive metal like uranium, plutonium, whatever the thing may happen to be. But when you encase it in something,
I think the demon core was plutonium, wasn't it?
The demon core was plutonium. Yeah. When you encase it in something, all that radiation that's reflecting off of it has nowhere to go. It goes back in on itself and it's banging around to each other, and that creates your issue. Yeah. The demon core, those dudes were fucking with it with a fucking screwdriver. And
I watched a whole video on that too, and so that
I think we had talked about it
originally
once
wasn't that was not the first person that thing killed.
It killed a few people. Yeah. That particular, because it came out of a bomb, didn't it? And they wanted to study it.
Yeah. So originally, like they had it. It was the guy had it, and what he was doing is he was taking, I think it was bricks of beryllium.
It was beryllium, yeah.
And he was like stacking them in a way to which he was getting it as close to critical mass as he possibly could.
In like a lab.
Yeah, just with his hands.
In some university lab.
Just like with his hands.
It was like, what are you doing in here, man?
So, and then like
why does everything taste like iron?
Right. So I guess like he like was going to go sit like the last one down, and he dropped it and it enclosed it.
Yeah.
And then like for less than like a half a second, and then he like smacked it in the floor
with his hand.
And then like 9 days later he's fucking dead.
What day did you see his hand from where he touched?
Yeah.
From where he had hit the thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The video that I watched, they showed some pictures of his hand, and it just like fucking melted away.
Yeah.
It's an insane thing when your DNA starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
It's way
wild.
different than like a burn or anything
And
like that.
apparently the second guy who was fucking with it with a
With
screwdriver.
the screwdriver, where they had that perfect like hemisphere.
Yeah,
over
he
it.
like went in there to like see the guy before he died. And apparently, like, this guy was, like, known to be, like, a fucking wild card.
Yeah.
And so, like, he was in there, like, shirtless with, like, cowboy boots on.
like assless chaps.
And then, so, his thing was he would take that screwdriver, that flathead screwdriver, and apparently that's not how they were supposed to be performing that fucking test.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's spacers.
Yeah.
There was, like spacers that they were supposed to put in there to get it as close to critical mass as they possibly could.
Yeah.
And so I think there was like 6 other guys that were standing there with him. Mm-hmm. And then it was like just a cap of beryllium. And he had his hand on it, and he put it down. And of course he had that flathead screwdriver. And so he put it down, and of course like the Geiger counter's like slowly starting to go off, right? And then so I guess somebody said something to him, and he like turned and did like that, and that flathead screwdriver slipped and encased it. Ugh. And then he just grabbed it with his hand and pulled it off.
Yeah, what else you gonna do?
Yeah.
You can't just let it sit there. It's gonna blow up. He came back, run!
Jesus, get out of here!
Get the fuck out of here! We're all fucking dead!
But he was saying, I
like
guess...
pork chop sandwiches.
But he was saying, I guess there's like 6 other scientists in there, and they all like ran out of the door. And then he like got it off, and he was like yelling at them. He's like, "Get the fuck back in here!"
Yeah, he's like, mark off where you were standing.
And then he's like, stand exactly where you were.
Yeah.
And so he's like also running a test.
Yeah.
To like he's
trying to see how much dosage like
everybody got.
Yeah. And I think it was lethal for like almost everyone.
And apparently the guy that dropped that brick of beryllium, there was like a security guard that was like 16 feet away that was like reading a newspaper.
Yeah.
And then he ended up like dying of like lymphoma like 30 years later.
Jeez Louise. This stuff is just, why do we keep fucking with it?
But they were saying the guy that was fucking with it with a screwdriver, I think they said the dosage that he received was like 16 times that of somebody that would have been ground zero at Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking wild.
He got nuked. Just like... He got, something like he didn't get, of course, like the heat or the concussive force that also comes with like that kind of reaction. He just got the pure, unadulterated radiation just right to him.
But it's pretty wild that like just like this metal that you could like find, you could find like a ball of
well, I mean, you're not going to find a ball of plutonium
but
somewhere.
like if there was like one sitting in a field somewhere, like you wouldn't fucking know. It's like...
Oh, yeah, like they disposed of it wrong or something? Yeah.
You'd just be like, the fuck is this?
Like hit it with your lawnmower?
Yeah.
Your beryllium blade lawnmower?
Like flashes of blue light going on.
I just imagine...
It's just like melting.
I just imagine some dude just going along, cutting his grass.
It's like these flashes of blue light going off, and then you like come back inside, and just like face is melting off.
Like that fucking scene from Poltergeist where he's like peeling his face off in the sink.
But yeah, like I said, so like I went down this huge rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Of just like nuclear experiments and like explosions and everything. Of course, like I watched a whole bunch of...
You watch all this stuff about Bikini Atoll?
Yeah, Bikini Atoll and like the bombs, the Tsar Bomba or whatever it is. And
what was that one they set off over the Pacific and like a bunch of nuclear ash got all over those fishermen? That wasn't Bikini Atoll, was it?
I think that it was. That particular one, I think... They had it attached to a ship that was like 90 feet down.
Yeah.
And they blew it up underwater.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't want to do.
Is that the one where you could see that battleship like
up
in the air? Like it blew it up out of the water.
So they did that, and of course, like there was like fishermen like way away that ended up getting radiation poison.
Fishermen who like weren't even close enough to see or hear the thing go off.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
there was like nuclear ash that came down and like landed all over these people.
So there's that, and have you ever like read or seen anything about the Tsar Bomba?
Yeah.
So they dropped.
We've talked about it a couple times.
Yeah, they dropped that one like in like northern Russia, like up near like the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah, near the ice caps.
Yeah, and they were saying that people in Alaska could see the explosion, like you could see the light off the explosion. I think they said it was like.
Is it like 50 times or something like that, or something bigger than?
Yeah,
they always use Hiroshima as the benchmark.
Yeah, I think that they said it was 50 or like 75 times larger than the explosion that hit Hiroshima. Yeah,
they dropped it out of a jet plane with a parachute attached to it.
So that it could get the fuck away from
it.
Because
Because otherwise the jet wouldn't be able to get away from the explosion.
No. Could you imagine being like a moose pilot? What is that?
Just fucking there one instance and gone the next. I wonder what Ground Zero looks like. From where that bomb went off.
I don't know. Well, you know that they were supposed to be doing another one that was twice the size of that one.
Who is? Russia?
Well, they were creating it, and the only reason why they didn't finish creating it is because
how big the first one was?
No, they were going to blow up the second one.
Really?
But they couldn't get it on a plane to fly. It's too heavy. You can't stick it on a missile. You can't stick it on a plane.
It'd have to be like a ground detonation.
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine being the guy, like, you know, you're however many, they would probably do it via satellite.
No.
Right? And you press the detonate button and nothing happens. And now you're like, oh, we got to do all this troubleshooting. And somebody is going to have to get near that thing.
But yeah, so there was like that, and I watched another video where they were talking about the reason why they chose Hiroshima and Nagasaki and why they didn't choose Tokyo.
Weren't those manufacturing places?
They were going to choose Tokyo. Tokyo was like at the top of the list. And so the only reason why they didn't choose Tokyo is because apparently before that, they were doing like these massive like firebombing runs on Japan. And like 89% of Tokyo was gone.
Really?
So there was nothing was left of Tokyo.
Yeah.
And so like one of the reasons, then at that point it became between Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and Kyoto. Mm. And the only reason why they didn't choose Kyoto was because one of the higher ups liked to vacation there. So that was like one of the only reasons why they didn't choose it.
Don't blow up my vacation spot.
And then, of course, they ended up choosing Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah. There was some discussion on Twitter. Well, maybe it's not fair to call it a discussion. There were people yelling. On Twitter. Eventually, the drama of, you know, the U.S. bombing Japan, that discussion came about because of Oppenheimer, which, you know, of course it was going to happen. People were trying their damnedest to get everyone else to feel sympathetic for Imperial Japan. And it just wasn't happening. Because the amount of war crimes and the shit that Imperial Japan, I am drawing a clear distinction.
The Imperial Death
between
March
Imperial Japan and current Japan.
Right. It's two different places, yeah.
They might as well not even be the same landmass.
Right.
It's so different. The shit that Imperial Japan was doing to China and everybody, China, everybody that they came into contact with is unbelievable. Like what was the Sino something war? There's been 4 wars between Japan and China. And the 4th one was currently going on before we jumped into the middle of all that. Or, well, they bombed us or whatever. But the rape of Nanking, you know, just all that was... Here's the thing. Humanity, will will do the most vile and heinous things imaginable if they believe it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And you can convince them it's the right thing to do quite easily. With a little bit of charisma.
Yeah, a little bit of charisma.
That's all it takes. 5 points
Just
in
a
charisma.
dash.
Yeah. A little pinch. They believed the Emperor Hirohito was a god. That means they literally worshipped him. They thought he was a god. They like a living god.
No.
And that's why they fought with the fervor and ferocity that they did, and why they believed that everyone outside of their little island were little peons, were nothing to them.
No.
Did you know that Hirohito died in 1989? Yeah, pretty recently. Well,
Like
I say recently, that's 40 fucking years ago.
Like in a prison? I'm assuming war crimes, he would be in a prison, right?
No, he died in Cuba or something. I don't know if he was ever tried for war crimes. I think that might have been part of the deal or whatever that they signed. What was the name? It's not the Treaty of Versailles. That was that was World War One. Right? I forget what the treaty was called. The peace treaty or whatever it was after World War II. Let me verify that right quick.
Interesting fact about the Treaty of Versailles. When they signed that treaty, there was still 6 hours left in that war.
Really?
Yep. So they signed it, and that did not take effect till 6 hours later. And you want to know why they did it that way? That way they could sign it at the 11th day, at the 11th hour, at the 11th minute. So Germany was actively attacking while they signed the truce treaty.
Yeah.
And so once they signed it, there was all these people that just needlessly died.
They were still fighting.
They were still fighting, even though the treaty was signed.
Jeez.
Just because they wanted the poetic.
They wanted it to sound cool.
Yeah.
Emperor Hirohito died in 1989.
Where at? Does it say? That's wild. How did they not hang that fucking guy?
Know. He died of colon cancer at 87. It says he was buried near his parents at the Imperial Graveyard. So just did not pay for
any of the war crimes that he committed.
He didn't pay for any of. He got off scot fucking free.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know what to Google.
And it's pretty wild to me how people actively overlook the heinous shit that Japan did, and they concentrate solely on all the heinous shit that Germany did.
Well, I mean, Germany did do some heinous shit.
Yes.
But I agree. I mean, they are not.
No, they don't talk about the imperial death marches and all that stuff that they were doing inside of China.
Oh, here's something interesting. Hirohito was not tried for war crimes, as many members of the Japanese government were. Some leaders of the occupying Allied forces went to great lengths to corroborate his innocence because they believed that preserving the emperor's office would be useful for carrying out governmental change. So, the reason why Emperor Hirohito did not pay for all the horrible shit he did is because the United States government said, hey, we can use this to influence.
You're going to be a puppet now.
Yeah. They've never done that before.
Oh.
It's so out of character for them. Yeah, so he did all that shit happened, and then he just gets to die peacefully and get buried in his little royal palace. Fucking there's no justice.
What the fuck?
There's no justice in this world. None.
That's wild. I didn't know that. I thought that he got tried for fucking war crimes.
I did too. So the only reason I looked it up was because I had watched that movie, the one that Angelina Jolie, is it Unbroken or Unbreakable or about the American POW?
That's a good one too.
It's a really good movie. No. And I was just curious. I was like, what was the because almost everybody on every side was doing war crimes. It just became one big war crime, thing.
Whoever wins isn't going to get tried.
Whoever wins doesn't get in trouble. But yeah, I looked it up. I was like, I don't feel like anybody ever told me, like I never learned in school, like whatever became of Emperor Hirohito.
No.
Like I know Mussolini was hanged, wasn't he?
Yes.
And Hitler committed suicide. Let me Google that about Mussolini.
We
That might not
think.
be right. Yeah, or he fucked off to Argentina like the rest of them. And I was like, whatever happened to whatever happened to Hirohito? Sorry, I know this is riveting. Me sitting here quietly and Googling something. He was World War II when he was summarily executed by an Italian partisan in a small village.
I thought he was hung by like his own people, wasn't he?
That's what it looks like. It says he was executed.
Oh, well, yeah. I
So
knew that it was like his own people that killed him.
Yeah. Well, also he was a fucking coward
Yeah.
because
Well, Hitler hated that fucking guy.
yeah, well they switched sides like 3 times in the middle of the war. And also people I learned when I went to Italy that people hated him because he destroyed all of this what do you call it? Culture and history in order to fund the war. Like, so the Colosseum, as a matter of fact, the Colosseum in particular, whenever there was like a defect or like pitting or something in like the walls or the columns or whatever, they would fill it with gold.
Really?
So all of the inside of the Colosseum used to have just like these little gold inlays, just all about, which I mean, that's a shitload of gold.
No.
Well, when World War II happened and everybody was poor, what do you think they did?
Went and pulled shit out of there.
Pulled all the gold out of there. And then right in the middle of town, there was this big, beautiful fountain that everyone loved.
No.
Mussolini cut it down so that Hitler could take a picture in front of the arch. So, yeah, nobody liked him.
I don't know, like I essentially know kind of what was so. I know the Americanized version of World War II, which is we fought in the
back-to-back champs.
We got started because of Pearl Harbor because we were trying to stay out of it. Essentially, we were just selling arms to.
We were making money
Allies.
hand over fist. Yeah.
And then so essentially, when Japan attacked, then Germany said we declare war on the U.S.
Yeah.
Because essentially Hitler thought that he's like, that's it, they're done.
Yeah.
And then so I know that we started Normandy, and apparently that was like. D-Day, that's not the only beach that they landed on.
Yeah.
That was like the worst fucking one that they landed on. Like there was like others like up and down
all
that
up
coast.
And down
there,
that coast, yeah.
And so, like I know that's where we started in the Eastern Theater or the Atlantic Theater, and then the Pacific Theater was of course like all the island hopping.
Yeah.
Which that was the advent of the Marines. Like,
right.
That's how they got those started. So, but I don't really know a whole lot about 41 until 44, which is. Like, we only fought like a year and a half in that war. Like, we kind of just came in and mopped up and...
Yeah, kind of cleaned up after everybody. Stepped over all the dead bodies. So, like, we won.
That's why I always find it interesting to, like, watch or, like, read stuff about World War II that, like, doesn't have... that's prior to us getting involved.
That's why I've said it several times. Just there's so much. Like every time I look into it, there's a new thing. Like, did you know that this fucking shit happened?
No.
Just because it was so fucking insane.
Because like I don't know how did Italy get involved with Hitler? Like how did this alliance get formed up until that point? Like,
I actually don't know because Italy's not very far away from France, and France got occupied.
Right. Like, was it just like a preservation tactic that they decided to do? Just because Hitler was running rampant through?
Maybe it had something to do with the Alps going, because Italy's kind of cut off from Germany by the Alps stretch over the whole north border there. So maybe it would have been difficult to mount an offensive into Italy from that direction.
Yeah. Because I know, like, Switzerland's
right in between Germany.
Yeah, they never got involved at all. But, like, how are you going to attack Switzerland?
They had everybody's money.
Yeah, exactly.
They were holding everybody's money.
Yeah, and essentially, like, where the Alps are at, they're just, like, surrounded by mountains. It's like, good luck getting in here.
Yeah. It's really interesting when you start looking into like how geographical, how geography kind of plays into like whether or not people get invaded or
right.
How they manage to stay a governing body for so long.
Right.
One thing that was interesting is that they used the United States used the Navajo language in their radio transmissions.
Yeah, there was a movie about that, wasn't there?
Was there?
Yeah, it was like Wind Talkers or something like that. There's like an old World War II movie that's about that, how they used the Navajo language.
Really?
So that they couldn't break the...
So that the Germans couldn't, because literally no one spoke Navajo.
Right. I think there was like 3 Navajo fucking people at that point that spoke Navajo.
Yeah.
And they like taught it or whatever, or they like used it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's very clever. I mean, you use what you have at your disposal.
No.
Like, hey, those Indians that we genocided are good for one last thing. About the Irish potato famine or whatever.
Yes.
There was a while back where I was discussing that with Mary. I was telling her about like the potato famine happened and everything. And she was like, well, why didn't they just eat something else? And I was like, why didn't they just eat something else?
No.
And I started looking into it. They literally only ate potatoes.
Really?
That was all that they ate.
No.
Because everybody in Ireland at the time was poor, and they were able to live where they lived if they tilled and tended the fields.
No.
Well, the easiest thing to produce was potatoes.
Right.
So they would just make potatoes. That's all they made. All anybody made was these fucking potatoes. And when a blight, blights come and go for on crops, it's just like a natural cycle. When this blight happened, the only crop they were growing was affected, and they all starved to death. Like millions of them starved to death. Well, everybody this was like 1840. So, what, 20 years before the fucking Civil War?
Yeah, really not that long ago.
Yeah, this wasn't
in
like
the grand scheme of...
in the 1300s.
Yeah.
Like this is, not that long ago. Other nations the world over were hearing about what was going on, and were trying to make donations to Italy and help them, not Italy, Ireland. Make donations to Ireland and then help the people there. And the Queen of England kept blocking all the donations being made.
Really?
Because
they were actively fighting.
Well, the Queen of England had already made a donation to Ireland and didn't want to be outbid by anybody.
No.
There was one of the sultans at the time. I forget. It wouldn't have been Turkey, would it?
That would have been the Ottoman Empire.
It would have been Ottoman. Well, yeah, one of the Ottoman Empire sultans was going to donate like all this livestock and all these crops and all this stuff and like people to help sow the land. Like he was going to go fix the problem.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not he had any kind of ulterior motive
is another story.
It remains to be seen, but like he was going to help them, and the Queen of England like set up this blockade and wouldn't let anybody come through and help the Irish people, so just let them fucking starve to death.
No.
But the Choctaw Nation of the United States, they scraped together like $130.
No.
Which is today's equivalent, probably like $95,000.
Yeah.
So, not chump change.
No.
They got all that together and they sent it to Ireland.
Yeah.
And so now the nations of Ireland and the Choctaw Nation of North America have a very close bond with one another.
Yeah.
Which seems like a strange
this is interesting
kinship there.
Yeah.
But the nation of Ireland, said we're going to repay you eventually, just because the gesture is just, it meant a lot to them.
Yeah, you gave us everything that you had.
Gave us everything you had. And I think they recently repaid the Choctaw Nation, was like $12 million or something like
really?
that. Yeah, like, recently paid them back. Yeah. So I just, little stories like that I always thought were really interesting. Kind of a similar thing when 9/11 happened. There was a tribe in Kenya that had heard about what happened, and they sent the United States like 2 cows or something.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Which is like just that gesture is
right.
It's 2 cows.
Out of their 5 cows, they sent 2 of them. Yeah.
So I mean, it's like you can't turn your nose up at something like that.
Well, and from what I've seen, because I've like watch some shows and stuff like where people will go over, and if it's the tribe I'm thinking of, I watched a documentary on or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they use those cows for fucking everything.
Well, yeah, it's like all they have.
Yeah, like they drink the blood from the fucking cow.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's all they fucking got.
Yeah.
It's just the fucking cows.
And that's all you have. You make do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, the Native Americans, like when they used to run the buffalo off the cliff, they would go down there and they would harvest all the meat.
Yeah.
They would take all the bones. They would dig the marrow out of all the bones and use that. They would take the brain out of the skull and use that to tan the hide so that they could keep the leather. They used literally everything.
Right.
And the reason they did that was because they didn't have much. And so they had to make do.
You make do with what you got.
With every single bit of everything that you have around you.
I read something interesting the other day that they think, or I don't know if it's like a conspiracy, but there's a theory that
conspiracy theories often become true.
Well, the conspiracy theory
9 times out of 11
is that we are missing about 5 centuries worth, or there are 5 centuries worth where we need to collapse down where we think we are in history. It's like the Middle Ages.
Like how far away something happened?
Yeah, so like from 1000 AD to 5000 AD.
Yeah.
They think that time, because of the historians, it got stretched. And that's not where we are in history.
Do you mean BC? Because we're in AD right now.
No, yeah. So they think that from 1000 AD to 1500 AD.
You said 5,000. I
No,
was like,
not
we're
5,000.
only in 2023.
Well, yeah, 1000 AD to 1500 AD.
Yeah.
That really didn't happen over a span of 500 years.
Is it because a lack of documentation?
Yeah,
or?
lack of documentation and just conflicting stories about when things happen. So from what I've heard is we're really more close to 1600 AD. We are not in 2023.
No shit.
Yeah.
Would that be fucking insane?
That'd be fucking wild.
That would be such a mind fuck.
If they were just all right, everybody.
Turns out.
Yeah. We're going to have to roll back about 500 years.
Yeah. What if they were we're actually in the year 20 BC?
Yeah.
And we're still going to be counting down to 0. Well, what happens in 20 years? Does anybody know a guy named Jesus?
But yeah, I thought that was... And I guess, there's really no way to tell.
Without documentation,
without
there's no fucking way to tell.
There's really no way to tell. It's and you're really banking on the fact that these historians from way back when, actually knew their shit.
Yeah.
It's
or did it the right way.
Or did it the fucking right way.
Yeah. We really are relying on you doing it correctly.
Right. And that thought had never fucking crossed my mind.
Yeah, you just kind of assume, of course that's right. I mean, it's, it's documentation.
And then I was like, there's a chance.
People made errors back then. Yeah.
There's a chance. For all I fucking know, from 0 all the way up to 1700.
Yeah.
That could all be fucking...
Nothing never happened. Yeah.
Never fucking happened, or it didn't happen in the way they say that it happened, or it didn't happen over the span of time that they said that it happened.
That would be crazy. Imagine how think about how it puts us a lot closer to Jesus' death.
No.
What if we find out we're a lot closer, that happened a lot more recently than what we thought.
300 years ago.
Yeah. There was Italy in particular. Every time somebody digs a garden in Italy, they bump into some kind of fucking mosaic tile floor because it's just the empire was so vast. They recently found I forget what they call it. There's a specific name for it, art that's inlaid into a wall. Mm-hmm. There was some dig site, and they uncovered this painting or whatever it's called, and it depicted a little tray of food with a goblet of wine or whatever, and a pizza, a little pizza like this, which meant that pizza might actually be something 200 or 300 years older than what we thought it was.
Oh, really?
Even further back, people were making pizza. Yeah. Which is interesting because at the time that this art piece, whatever was done, somebody painted on the inside of their house, is about 500 years before tomatoes ever came to Italy.
Really?
Yeah, so tomatoes were never in Italy for the longest time. That's not something that they had.
Yeah.
And then they came from Spain, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, well, this is ours now. Like, we're the tomato people now. So all that stuff is really interesting. I really like when they find out that they were wrong about something.
Right.
Or when they find out that something is much more vast than what they thought that it would be.
Have you seen the picture of Europe where there's like a line that goes across like halfway up, and at the top it says Potato Europe, and at the bottom it says Tomato Europe?
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty true. Well, before we run out of too much time, we got to jump into our Super Cringe Thursday. Now, you would be forgiven for forgetting which Super Cringe Thursday this was. It was the TikTok of the girl doing all the different like emotes in front of the camera.
Yeah, apparently that's like a big thing now.
It's a huge thing now. When I first came across that, I thought this was just like some very like esoteric niche corner of TikTok. No, apparently what this is, it's called NPC role playing. So what it is these people will pretend that they are an NPC. And what NPC stands for is non-playable character. Usually it's a video game term. So like imagine a character in a video game that you go up to, you interact with them, and they have like 5-6 lines of dialogue. And they just repeat those when you interact with them. That's what these people are pretending to be. And I'm watching this, I'm cringing watching this video, and she's doing all these different things. Like she will, she'll make like a kitty paws thing, and then she'll like make some weird voice and when somebody does a spicy pepper or whatever. And she's just going through these same like 10 or 11 different like voice clips or whatever, and she's like bouncing around on screen or whatever. And so without the context of knowing what that is or why she's doing it, it's so fucking bizarre. Yeah. It's one of the oddest, most cringiest, strangest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Also, apparently that girl's a porn star. I didn't know that. So what I found out was these people will do these live streams on TikTok, and they'll pretend to be NPCs. There's another one that was floating around on Twitter of a black girl doing the same thing. And they make so much fucking money. They make unbelievable amounts of money. Something like $6,000 to $7,000 every hour doing this. And they'll go on TikTok Live and do it for 8 hours straight, or however long they want to go. Because these people, they're watching it. Like, if you go back and you watch the Super Cringe Thursday video that we posted, you can see the count of how many people are watching it. I want to say it's like 35,000 people watching. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see these little icons coming up over and over, like a rose or a pepper or whatever. All these things coming up. And what the NPC's job is to assign a specific, like, motion and phrase to each one of these icons. And whenever they see that icon appear, they do the motion and phrase that they have assigned to that icon. And there's so many coming through that they're just constantly doing it over and over and over again. But people are paying real world money to send those little icons to the streamer. So it's just money rolling in. Constant money. Now,
I hate this world.
I don't know if the fact that they're making money hand over fist makes it any better or worse. It makes it better in the sense that they're doing it for money because, people will do a lot for money. But it makes it worse because people are spending money on this.
Just from seeing, because I saw somebody did a thing on it. They were like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, what it looks like is some guys sitting at home alone in a basement somewhere, fucking jerking off. And
punching the old munchkin.
and paying this person $300 fucking to.
It does seem like a fetish thing.
Yeah, that's what it fucking looks like to me. Is a fucking fetish thing.
It definitely looks fetishy.
At this point, I just assume that's what the fucking internet's for. That's what people use it for.
Just fetish stuff.
Fetish shit.
Just jerking off is just a big fucking goon service. It's just fucking gooning all the time and everything.
That's the only thing I can fucking. I mean, at this point, that's fucking. I'm assuming that's just what the internet is at this point.
You know,
everything just kind of devolves into sex.
It all turns into sex. It all goes back to sex. The only reason anybody does anything is for sex. And I don't know. I just feel like I don't even know what sex is anymore. Like it used to be you liked somebody and you had sex. Now it's like this weird fucking online song and dance kind of, there's all these social things like this. It's almost kind of like Victorian like tea parlor kind of etiquette. But it's been like mutated and like gnarled into this weird fucking thing that we do online with each other. And there's so many like subsections of it. We have people who like pretend to be babies, and people who pretend to be animals, and people who pretend to be other people.
Yeah.
And people of the opposite gender, whatever.
Well, I mean,
and I'm not talking about transgender people. I'm talking about like people who. Like catfishing, that kind of thing. People do it, if somebody's doing something on the internet and it seems weird, and the question is why are they doing that, it's fetish.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting their willy off to it.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can come up with is that everybody has just like given in to like this like animalistic instinct.
Yeah.
To like have sex all the time.
Just this carnal desire.
Yes, and like whatever like weird like shit you got going on, they're just like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
Instead of being like introspective and being like, maybe this isn't.
Maybe I should be ashamed of this.
Maybe I should be a little bit ashamed of this thing that I got going on.
Yeah.
Instead of being like,
I shouldn't be proud of the fact that I want to fuck a rabbit.
Yeah. And then everybody else on the internet, because everybody else on the internet has like no attachment to this person, they just fucking gas them up.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you should fuck a rabbit.
Yeah, go fuck a rabbit.
Yeah.
And then that person turns around and then they just go to bed.
Yeah.
God, I wonder if that guy ever fucked a rabbit. You know what? My online etiquette, me personally, is not squeaky clean. I'm not saying I'm out there doing any kind of weird fetish stuff. I'm not. But I do talk a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I do a bit of trolling, as the former president Donald Trump said. I recently, within the past week, I've been banned on Reddit twice.
Yeah, well, that's also not very hard to do.
It's not very hard to do.
Depending upon the subreddits that you go into.
Yeah. What happened was there was a story that somebody posted on Reddit about the Swedish embassy in Iraq being overran by protesters. And I said, what is it about the Swedes that makes flip-flop people so angry? Just kind of a little offhanded joke there, I got banned for hate speech.
Oh.
I was like, oh, man. So I created another account, which was the same username, just with V2 after it. And one of the subreddits that got suggested to me was Gaming Circle Jerk, which is a very, very, very left-leaning subreddit.
I think all of them are at this point.
Not all of them. There's a few bastions of either centrism or some right-wing stuff. Gaming Circle Jerk, however, is just full of the most just pretentious, insufferable, room temperature IQ individuals that you have ever seen in your entire fucking life. People who take everything literally.
No.
Everything is an attack. Everything is an offense.
No.
Just those kind. You understand?
Yes.
I had forgotten that on my original account, I got banned because I went into their subreddit when the whole Harry Potter thing was going on, and I just said, "I love Harry Potter," smiley face. And I got like 6,000 downvotes or, whatever. And people were yelling at me, calling me like, homophobe, blah, whatever, transphobe.
A Nazi.
And then I got, of course, I was banned from that. I was banned from that subreddit, not from Reddit as a whole, but just that particular one. Anyway, so I created the second account after my first one got permabanned, and I got suggested a post from that subreddit. I was like, I forgot about that place. Yeah. And so I hopped in to one of the threads, and it was somebody was posting about how they think that Doom Guy is actually transgender.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so I just commented the emoji of a train. That's all I did. Yeah. I didn't say anything. I just commented the emoji of a train. That was it. And I was immediately permabanned for ban evading from my first account.
Yeah.
Reddit was like, we noticed that you have made an account before where you got banned from this subreddit, and you made a new account and then posted in the same subreddit. That's called ban evading. Yeah. So now this account is also permabanned. And I was like, fuck. So I remade another account.
B3?
B3. I'm honestly surprised that my YouTube account has not been banned. Or even that the police haven't come to my door yet. Because some of the shit that I say on YouTube under anonymity is unfucking believable. I try to be as outlandish as I possibly can. And the funny thing about YouTube is nobody ever cares.
Yeah, no.
Like, I keep stepping it up just to try and get a reaction out of people. Nothing. Nobody ever replies. So I'm kind of like, whatever.
I'm just like, I'm starting to think that maybe, like, when I see stuff that's like so outlandish, really from either side, like my first initial reaction is like,
this is a bit.
Yeah, this is a bit. Yeah. Like somebody's doing this to like try to get a rise out of people.
That's what I do. I just do it to poke people. Like I don't believe any of this shit that I'm saying. It's just funny.
Like I saw like, what was it? So, of course, like you got YouTube where they're very like strict on like what you can and can't say, or like what you can and can't like kind of.
YouTube spends most of their time fighting copyright stuff. They're worried about you putting like licensed music in your movie,
or you like showing Alex Jones or
can't do that.
Yeah. But like on the other end, you've got Rumble, which like like I've seen some wild shit. Like I saw one like you remember Steve-O from Jackass?
Yeah.
Like he puts his show, I guess he's got like a podcast or whatever that he does.
Does it on Rumble.
And he puts it on YouTube, he also puts it on Rumble. So he's got it across like a couple of different platforms. Yeah. And so like I was poking around on Rumble and I was like, oh, there's Steve-O. So I like clicked on this video and I was like, what's the comment section look like? And I went in there. There was some of the wildest shit I've fucking ever seen. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Outlandish accusations that people make. Speaking of Rumble, I made $40 off of Rumble.
You did?
Yeah.
How'd you manage that?
So, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. I was, I was in several like Golden Doodle, Labradoodle pages on Facebook. And one of the ones I was in had something crazy, like 300,000 members or something like that. And I posted this video of Lola falling asleep while we were blow drying Lex. It's just a very cute video. And it got a lot of attention in the group on Facebook. And I got a message from somebody saying, "Hey, I'm a talent acquisition officer, whatever, from Rumble.com. We would like it for you. We would like it if you posted your video on Rumble on our account. Like we can partner with you and stuff like this." And I was like, at first I was like, "Oh, this seems like a scam or whatever." So I looked into. I hadn't even heard of Rumble by that point. So I was like, let me look into this. And so it seemed legit. So I just made an account. And I posted this video of Lola falling asleep or whatever, and kind of forgot about it. And then I came back to it like a couple months later, and I noticed that my Rumble account was like, you have earned $40. I was like, $40 for what? Just a video of Lola? And on Rumble, it'll break down like how many views the video gets and how much money it made per like site that it's on.
Yeah.
And YouTube is like negligible because it'll whenever you post on Rumble, it'll also post to YouTube.
Oh, really?
From Rumble's official account.
Okay.
So you give them the license to your video basically. Like they'll pay you more for the views that it gets on their platform. But
they're trying to drive traffic.
Yeah, but they also will post that video on YouTube from their YouTube account.
So they act as like a middleman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the majority of the views came from YouTube because that's where most people are.
Yeah.
And I think it had something like 3,000 or 4,000 views on YouTube, which is nothing. But most of the money made from was the Rumble views, whatever. So I was like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Good, yeah.
Made a little bit of money, and I put another video up there, and it never made anything, and I forgot all about it.
Yeah. Well, I wish that like Rumble was more like centrist. I feel like it's trying to swing way the other way.
Yeah, it's overcorrected. Well, I don't think it's necessarily Rumble's fault. I think it's the people
that have gone to
Rumble. So I personally don't think that Rumble is like catering to these people.
Right.
It's just that their style of doing things kind of creates a very appetizing.
Right. Well, I mean, you also got to think that the way that they're kind of running things too, as far as them being like, hey, we're going to kind of let you, as long as like you're not calling for violence, like we're going to kind of let you say what you want to say.
Yeah.
So for them to do that, you're going to attract a lot of people, especially like people that are going to create, accounts there that have been banned from other sites where a mass majority of people are. So YouTube, because YouTube has the monopoly.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I think that it's good that there's a competitor. I hope that Rumble continues to grow so that way YouTube will have a competitor, because that drives innovation and it helps all parties involved. Because when you just have one company, it gets stagnant, and like there's no innovation or anything that happens. There's really nobody's driving it forward. Like whereas like when you have competing companies.
Well, in most cases, I would agree with you. I just looked it up. 6.2 thousand views.
Oh.
As a matter of fact. But I think KFC is an outlier. And I'll tell you why I think that.
Why is that?
Because KFC, as you have noticed, really sucks over here in the States. It's really bad in the States. It is not as good as it used to be.
It's good in Canada.
The majority of their focus is in international markets.
No.
Specifically, East Asia.
Yes.
Because
I have heard that.
They're the only competitor over there right now. They're the only person playing the fried chicken fast food game over there.
Right.
So they are wildly successful in that market.
Right.
And so that's where the majority of their marketing focus goes. That's where the majority of their R&D goes. They get so many cool things over there. Like, they just get wacky shit. Like, there's one thing that was a waffle cone with mashed potatoes, gravy, cheese, and fried chicken in it. And I don't know if some East Asian country that got that one.
Like Vietnam or something like that.
Oh, we got what, a bowl of a bowl of like leftovers.
Here's your plastic bowl of shit.
Yeah, here's your slop bucket. Get the fuck out of my drive-thru. The thing that happened was, there's, churches came along.
No.
Popeyes came along. You had all these different like there's more fried chicken competition.
Yeah, so I think that there is like market saturation where like you have too many competing like companies or whatever. It's like, so like you have like Walmart is really the only player as far as like
a superstore.
Like a superstore is concerned. Like there's
like Super Sam's
Targets.
And Costco.
Yeah, but that's different.
That's like wholesale.
That's like wholesale. Like if you're talking about just like somewhere where you can go to get anything. Right, you can get your grocery shopping done there. You can get your oil changed. Like you can buy a trash can.
Get the new Xbox.
Yeah, like there are super Target.
Get a butt plug.
Yeah, like you can get a vibrating butt plug at Walmart. So, but like there are like super Targets, but it's not really. They don't compete with Walmart.
I think that Target and Walmart have different clientele.
You think?
And I don't know if that was the intention.
No.
I think that Target and Walmart, I think the intention was to compete.
Yeah.
And then I think Target might have seen what they were competing for.
Yeah. They're like,
And they said, you can have that. We're going to have our own thing.
Right.
Like, you get a different group of people if ground beef costs $2 more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like the Whole Foods crowd.
Like the Whole Foods crowd.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I went to Aldi's for the first time.
Oh, yeah? I've never been in there before. How was it?
Let me back up. I have been to Aldi's once previously, and it was the one over in Douglasville near LA Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Chapel Hill?
Yes.
And inside, it's very dark.
No.
In there. I mean, and I'm not making a racist joke.
No.
The lights are dim.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have not changed their lights in a long time.
The lights are dim so that you can't really see how bad the produce looks.
No.
And I just remember like all the meat was kind of gray and all the produce was kind of withered and like the floor was wet and there's flies everywhere. So I always had, and maybe I caught them on a bad day. I don't know. Under bad management.
No.
It doesn't matter. It really tainted my view of what an Aldi was.
No.
And the other day, we were out in Hiram having tires put on my car, and we were directly across the street from Aldi. And we're like, let's just pop into Aldi and just see what it's about.
No.
And me and Mary went in there, and it was actually rather nice inside. This one was actually rather nice and cheap. Like the shit in there was $3-4 cheaper than what you could find it anywhere else.
Really?
And I was like, why aren't more people shopping?
Like box items or?
Like produce, meat.
Really?
They had a lot of off-brand things too.
No.
But I maintain that some off-brand things are better than name brand. Like Cheetos, like off-brand Cheetos are always way better than like regular Frito-Lay Cheetos.
Unless it's mayonnaise. I'm not touching off-brand mayonnaise.
No. I need something recognizable when it comes to mayonnaise. But yeah, so Aldi was not relatively. It was much cheaper as far as like some of the stuff I have seen. But it's like why don't more people go here?
No.
And it was also interesting too. Like in order to get a buggy, you have to have a quarter and you stick it in this thing and you can have the buggy. But when you return the buggy, it gives you your quarter back.
Yeah.
And also it's like that was a weird thing. And then also like the cashiers are allowed to sit down.
Yeah, I don't need my cashier to stand up.
Just
scan the fucking items.
It's not going to hurt me if the cashier is standing up. Who gives a shit? Let him sit down for a second.
No.
But it's a different clientele in all these places.
No. Well, also Douglasville's a shithole.
Douglasville is also a shithole. Yes.
So there's always that.
It is a rancid armpit shithole.
Yeah.
It's what's the line from A New Hope? It was like a something hive of scum and villainy. He was talking about the cantina. Yeah. A rancid hive of scum and villainy. That's what Douglasville is.
That's what anytime like I have to go, I'm like, fuck. Like I don't want to go here.
Let's have a little city planner conversation about Douglasville before we hop out of here. But when we were kids, Douglasville was kind of like the place you went. Like if you wanted, if you had to leave town for something, Douglasville was where you went because it was free.
I remember being young enough to where the only thing that there was Highway 5. Chapel Hill Road was not. That wasn't a thing yet.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I don't
so it was right off Highway 5. That's when the Chili's was still over there, where Seabreeze is. Well, Seabreeze was.
Yeah.
Seabreeze isn't a thing anymore.
R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P. But so, like, there wasn't anything on that road.
Yeah.
Like that over there where it's like a Burlington coat factory, that was the Kmart, and then you went down the road.
I remember when it was Kmart, yeah.
There was the Chili's, there was Red Lobster, and then there was that Kroger that's up there on the hill.
Yeah.
That was it. Or there was the Ryan's that was up past that. And
I remember Ryan's too,
If you made a right and went down that road, there was a Cub Foods and a Walmart.
And CC's Pizza.
Yep. But that shit over there where that Walmart's at over there now, that wasn't there.
That wasn't there.
That wasn't there. So you made that right. That's all there was to Douglasville, was just right. They had like downtown and shit too, but like as far as like kind of where you went to go eat and like shop and stuff, like that was it over there. The mall was not there. Chapel Hill Road was not built up. Like, none of that shit was over there.
Douglasville is also kind of strange because the entire city is bisected by the interstate.
Yes.
And it's typically not the case with most cities that way. Like, usually, a city's going to be on one side of the interstate.
Right.
It's very easily in and out accessible. Because if you're trying to get from one side of the city to the other, you've got to go through... Right. You got to cross over the interstate. There's all that traffic coming on and off. I mean, you know what it's like trying to get in and out of Douglasville on the interstate. It's a fucking nightmare.
I usually take the back roads to get there.
Yeah. Like, it sucks because Douglasville could have been a very nice city. Like, it was positioning itself to become a very well-developed, nice place to be.
No.
And then I think where they went wrong was the mall.
Yep.
I think the Arbor Place Mall was the catalyst that just fucking brought it to its knees.
Well, I mean, and who could have foreseen, well, especially too, like you think about when that mall first got put in there, like it was a nice mall.
There was nothing like it anywhere else.
Yeah, there wasn't anything like it anywhere else. But like as soon as like online shopping became a thing, that fucking went away.
Yeah, nobody could have foresaw that online shopping was going to kill malls.
Right.
Because a mall was a place that had a lot of different stores, yes, but it wasn't a thing like Walmart where it was like a one-stop shop kind of place.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can do your online shopping and all that, but if you need something today, you can go to Walmart and get it.
Right.
The mall was kind of like let's go shopping. Let's just pop in and out of these stores and see what's in there. Well, you can do the same shit from your house on your laptop. You know, while you're watching Judge fucking Judy.
Yeah.
You go to the mall and you got to like look over your shoulder, make sure you're not about to get shot or stabbed.
Especially now.
That
place is a shithole.
Yeah.
Like, and they don't run the AC. It's hot as fuck in there.
Yeah. Yeah. The last couple times I went in there was because I was doing DoorDash and I had to pick up from that Chick-fil-A because I accidentally didn't pay attention to which one it was. Why is the AC off in that building?
It's off inside the fucking theater too. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took. That's where we took Autumn to go see the Puss in Boots movie.
You took her to Arbor Place?
Well, they didn't have any showings at the Carrollton one.
No.
So I was like, well, fuck, we'll go to this one. So we went over there or whatever, and like we were like the only people in the fucking theater. Like nobody goes in that fucking theater anymore. Plus that, and if you want to see IMAX, you got to go there. Either that or you drive over to Hiram.
Yeah.
Because like Carrollton doesn't have IMAX. I mean,
what's the one? Is the Hiram AMC?
I don't know if it's AMC anymore.
Well, whatever it is, I remember the Hiram one's actually...
That's a nice theater.
It's actually pretty nice. But I think now, if I'm ever going to go see a movie again, I'm going to go to Studio Movie Grill, where they have like the recliners, lazy boy recliners, and they'll bring you food and stuff like that.
I mean, there's a certain, like I was talking about, like Oppenheimer, I want to go see that in IMAX, because it was shot in IMAX.
Yeah, have you seen the reel? It's 8 miles long.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. Like
and it weighs like several tons. Yeah,
they were talking about, like, I saw like some of the shots where they were showing them like, getting ready to film, and the guy has to like huck the fucking IMAX fucking camera up onto his shoulder to like film it or whatever.
Isn't it interesting that that's not digital, that it's physical?
Mm-hmm. Because I saw that, and then I'm talking about, I guess the first time they ever shot like a movie like was supposed to be theatrical for IMAX was the first Batman movie directed by Christopher Nolan.
Really?
And they were talking about no, I'm sorry, that was the second one with the Joker. And the guy that is like the head of the bank there, like when the Joker and them first come in to like rob the bank.
Yeah.
And he's like got the shotgun, he's like going after him or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're talking about when they started filming that scene that he couldn't hear the director talking to him because of how fucking loud the camera was.
Really?
Yeah. He was like doing his line, and he like couldn't hear himself.
Jesus. It was like diesel operated.
It's got like a generator attached to it.
Yeah. Well,
fuck you, Douglasville. You're a piece of shit.
We kind of ping-ponged all over the place there at the end, but Wesley and I haven't seen each other in 2 weeks. We haven't been dicking around. Things have been going on, you know. So with all that, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. So I want to say thank you to everybody who continues to listen, and we apologize again for the 2-week delay. We know we're trying to maintain some sense of consistency here, but we have little things we have to do here and there. So we appreciate everybody who continues to listen, everybody who continues to support us. As we had mentioned before on the last episode, we have something planned or something we're kind of kicking around idea for episode 100, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. Kind of an interactive thing with the audience. So stay tuned. We'll be releasing more information for that as it comes along. Do you have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope. All of the regular things, like Gary said, thank you so much for continuing to support and listen. If you haven't already yet, if you could, leave a rating or review or like or whatever it is that you do on your favorite podcast platform. It helps with the algorithm gods so that more people can find our content when we actually upload. Yeah. So, no, just thank you so much for the continued support. We really do appreciate it, and we hope that you're still enjoying the podcast.
Yeah. All right, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
That's what I'm talking about. Wow!